Sean, team launch today. How is it looking for this year?
Well, so far it's looking good. We've had 2 training camps, one back in December and one in January, 3 weeks ago. Looking good. Of course, the team, on paper we have a stronger team, I think, of all time. The best team we've had, but then you have to turn that into results. But I'm happy with the way things are going at the moment.
Who for you are the key riders when you look at the roster for this year?
Well, Aikout is still performing really well. He looks very impressive at the training camp. Bagdonis, I think he will produce some good results again this year, because last year he had a fabulous year, considering he came from a programme of races the previous year, which were shorter races, not the level that he was doing last year. So he should win some good races this year, be very aggressive in the races. And then we'll be looking from an Irish point of view. Sam Bennett should produce some good races, good results this year, because last year was a bit of a learning process for him. He was coming from an injury the previous year where he had a bad crash and lost out almost a year the previous year. So I'm hoping that he will benefit from the race programme last year, the distance of races, and he should be able to get some very good results this year. And then we have McNally, the English rider. He was very, very, very strong in the end of season last year, so I feel he should be again able to get some good results in the earlier part of the season, the first 50% of the year. And then we have a few of the other Irish guys. Sean Downey, he's just his first year with us, and it will be interesting to see how he will perform at the level, because from last year I think the level is going to be that much higher. So he's going to need a couple of months to get his feet and for him to see and for us to see how he will adapt to this level of racing. And we have the other Irish guys as well, I suppose. Conor McConvey, he's back with us, and he should be stronger again, because he did ride with us 2 years ago, but he was coming from a mountain bike situation, so he should benefit from the programme of race he had with us 2 years ago.
He took some time away from the bike. He temporarily cracked and went off skiing and that, and came back to it. So do you think that break, now that he gets a chance to build back up again, but do you think that break will be good for him mentally, will help his concentration now?
Well, you have to give the guys that break. I think Conor, mentally he was burdened out at the end of the first year, and as I said, coming from mountain biking, it was a huge step for him, and he adapted very well. When you consider the races he was riding, the level of races, the distance compared to mountain biking, it was a big step. But he paid the price, I think, at the end of the year, where the commitment, time-wise, training, racing, all of that. I think it's he paid for that at the end of the season. Wanted to take a break, and we had talks with him. But if a guy has in his head mentally he feels that he needs to take the break, then you have to leave him do it, because there's no point in pushing him and making him continue on, because I don't think it works for anybody. And took the year out, came back last August, and was riding quite well, and he was fresh in mind and body again. And I feel that this year he should be able to up his performances, and time will tell how much he can improve, how much he will improve this year.
You mentioned Gediminas Bagdonis, who had a great season. He won the An Post Ross, he won a stage in the Tour of Britain, and was set to go to the Geox team, which subsequently folded, so that messed that up for him. So Mark McNally was also potentially going to move to Eurocar. So you've 2 guys that were ready to move up to a new level, have come back to the team. Presumably they'll have a very good season?
Yes, well, I think they performed, McNally especially in the second half of the season. He performed very well. He was riding well in the beginning of the season, but I think he was very, very nervous and always wanted to get results, and because he was so nervous in the race, I think he paid a little bit of the price for that. But that he was in contact with Europcar, for example, and there was other teams also who took some interest in him. So if he can improve a little bit more, he should be able to possibly go on after this year to a bigger team. And Bagdonis, he was really unlucky that with Geox that they folded at the end of the year, because he had the results to move on to a bigger team. But maybe another year with us would be a good thing for him, because if he moved to a bigger team and riding a lot of big races, it might have been just that little bit too early for him. So who knows, this year if he can get the results and then move on, he will have 2 very good years behind him at a very good level of racing to move on possibly to a Continental Pro or Pro Tour team.
Nico Eco's still going, he's 41 years of age, so what is it for you that has kept him young, if you like? What's kept him so motivated about cycling?
Well, Eckert is just, he's motivated. He wants to race, he wants to ride his bike, and the motivation that guy has, it's unbelievable. I see him at the training camp yesterday. We had a bit of a bike ride here, and he wanted to go out there and do 3 hours in the real cold conditions. So the motivation is really, top with him. And for that reason, he's still performing well. He's putting in the training that you need to do, where I think with some other guys, it's not the case. They're making little shortcuts here and there on their training rides, the amount of hours they do, and that's where you pay the price. And Eckhout is just, he's motivated still at 100%.
So presumably, apart from the advice he gives guys, training and during races, as a road captain, that is also important. He's showing an example to them.
Yes, I think he's a perfect example at his age. And when you see the way he races, he races very aggressively. For me, I think in his good days when he was with Lotto, maybe he raced a bit too aggressively in some of the races, and for that, his Palm race is not as great as it could be. But that's the guy's mentality. That's the way he races, and that's the way Eckhout always has been, and still continues to be that way, where he races very aggressively. I think that is good in our team, because the younger guys, they see that and they can learn a lot by just looking at what Eckhout do in the races. They can learn a lot from him, and it's good for the young guys in our team that they see the way Eckhout is, the aggressive racing he does. And at 42, almost 42, he's still able to perform at that real top level.
Johnny Bellis has come to the team, having had a couple of years with Saxa Bank. He's still recovering from a bad accident. How do you feel he'll progress this year?
Well, Bellis was a late comer to the team, and we had our roster of riders pretty much completed, and then British Cycling, the academy, they got in contact with us and they said, will you take Bellis? And Kurt was immediately up for it. He wanted to give Bellis a go, because he felt that if he didn't get the opportunity, first of all, I think it would be a waste, possibly a waste of talent, and to give the guy opportunity, I think he deserved it. But it's going to be a longer and slower process. I don't think in the first half of the year it's just going to be working with Bellis and take him along, and we will see what way he comes through the first 50% of the year, and maybe later in the season we'll get some results from him. But I don't see anything in the first half of the year. I think it's going to be a lot of work with the team, working with him, but also from Johnny Bellis, a big commitment from him, that he worked very hard to try and get back to the level or near the level that he was at.
Can he do it, you think, if he keeps focused over these next few months?
I think there is a good possibility there, but it's very, very early days yet to see or to say that he can do it. I think the first number of months, the first 3% of the season, that will be the indicator for me if he can get back to that level he was at.
Overall, what would you like to see the team achieve this year?
Well, overall, I think Ronan McLaughlin is the other guy. He's improving every year, and last year he had a real good season. For me, he improved that much more last year, to a better level again. And if he can continue and improve the same again, he should be, able to get some very good results this year going forward. And then the other guy, Cassidy, of course, he's capable of doing results when he's motivated. And the problem is with Mark, he can be motivated for some races, but other races he seemed to lose the motivation, difficult to keep him motivated. for a period of time. So all of those guys are going to be the challenge, and to try and get the best out of them, and that is the job Kurt has got on his hands, because he's the guy who's on the ground working with the guys on a day-to-day basis and doing the races with him.
By the end of the season, what would you like to see the riders achieve in terms of results and in terms of where the team will be heading into 2013?
Well, I think if we get the same results as last year, first of all, we're going to race aggressively again. That is our tactic. You've seen that last year, even the big races like Qatar, Oman, Tour of Britain, the televised races that we see back in Ireland, and that the people see, and that's the way we ride in all the races in Belgium. 90% of our races we ride very aggressively, and we have a tactic going into the race where we do that. And then if we get to the end, we try and use Eichhout in the final, use him for the sprint, and hopefully with the likes of Bennett, with the likes of McNally, we can have more guys who are capable of doing the final and being up there in the sprint. And if we can win the same amount of races last year and have a very aggressive season, then I would be happy.
Long term, is Pro Continental the objective for the team?
Well, Pro Continental, it's been out there the past couple of years. There have been contacts and there have been inquiries, but for me, unless we can go to Continental Pro level at the right level, because in Continental Pro there's a huge difference between the top 5-10 teams and the bottom ranked teams, and I don't want to go in to be one of the Continental Pro teams who are just following the races. You need to be there, able to get involved in the races at that level and to win some races, and for that you need a budget, and with the budget you can have the riders. So, and that is the reason we've had negotiations, we have had contact with sponsors, but nothing good enough to merit for me to go forward and to move to the next level, Continental Pro.
In saying though the team has the best ever lineup this year, presumably that should bring results, which in turn should bring potential sponsorship opportunities?
Yes, well, of course the results are always so important, and if you get the results, well then you get the sponsors interested, and we hope to get the results this year. And if we do get the results, there will be sure there will be sponsors coming forward. But again, it will have to be the right deal. We'd have to have the right sponsors where we have a budget that we can have a Continental Pro team, that we can move up from the level we're at now substantially and go into races like I would be talking about, going to races, getting into like a Tour of Flanders as a wild card, getting into a Ghent-Wevelgem, and possibly doing a Paris-Nice, a Tour of Switzerland, and something like maybe a Vuelta, that sort of programme. And unless you have the budget to do that where you can have the riders, there isn't really any interest of going forward.